Okay, I hope the audio video is perfectly clear to all of you. Brightness is little high. Yeah, I am taking the class from studio today. Maybe because of थोड़ा कम कर लेते हैं. I think this is fine, right? And the camera is very far, so there is a possibility मैं थोड़ा सा इधर उधर देख लूँ. Sir, please do share the PPT. They were not available. Oh my God. Akanksha, I'll just confirm it from the backend because I have already sent the PPT. Let me confirm this once whether the PPTs were uploaded or not. Okay. So as of now, I hope every student is with me, and pardon me for my energy today, but low, only because there are multiple classes going on, not because of the health concerns. No PPTs there. Okay, no issues backend. मैं थोड़ा सा check कर लेता हूँ backend में. Today I'll ensure that the PPT is uploaded. If not today, at least tomorrow morning the PPT would be uploaded, and by tomorrow's class, before we start, we would you people would have the PPT. Okay. Board works तो first class I took it from studio, so I think that should have been given to you. Chalo, give me some time. I'll confirm both the things today, whether why those things were not uploaded. Yesterday's class were taken from my own studio, so that I would send it tomorrow morning when I'll have my first class. But rest, let me get a confirmation. Okay, so I hope the summary of the two classes as of now is this, that we started with the various aspects of ethics, the meanings, the morals, the aspects. Yesterday, what we started were that how ought one should be living. We looked into the various theoretical pursuits, which talks about how one should be living in life, living a life. The life well lived, one should live well, one should be happy, but the meaning of that happy and wellness is very different. Confucius gives a different perspectives. The utilitarian give a different perspectives. The virtue scholars like Socrates gives a different perspective. After that, we started with the how can one understand that whether the life should be lived on the basis of personal interest, on the altruistic interest, which type of life is good or happy. In that, we started with the theories of ethics. The first theory, which we largely completed yesterday, was the consequentialism's part, ethical egoism. The consequences of an action matters. Whether the action is right or wrong is determined on the basis of the consequences those actions have. So yesterday we looked into the ethical egoism part, where ethical egoistic scholars believe that any action which is taken for the self-welfare, self-happiness, self-interest, that action is ethical because the person is going to have a positive result, which would make his life happy, gay, and well. Now today we are going to start with the second theory, that is utilitarianism. Second theory which we are going to start is utilitarianism. This theory is quite big, and there has been different types of questions often inspired from this particular theory. Once there was a question, what does happiness means to you? This is one good theory which gives a very clarity about happiness. After completing the utilitarian theory, I would discuss in detail the concept of happiness. There are people who have talked about happiness. What exactly is the meaning of happiness? How one should be living? Then I'll pose a single question to you. What according to you is happiness? The notion of your happiness may completely different from the notion of the people who are utilitarians. Your happiness concept may be very different from the notion of my concept of happiness. But that's a later part of the day today. The classes would be till 8 o'clock. Do remind me once it is 8 o'clock, and then I'll wind up the class. Utilitarianism. I'm starting with the class. I hope I'll reconfirm once again. Is the audio video absolutely clear? Do we have to start making running notes? Guys, as far as the running notes are concerned, if you're not getting the handwritten notes, at least draw those diagrams which I'm doing it. As far as this PPT is concerned, this is personally made by me. It's not made by any content developers. Whenever you get this PPT, for the entire ethics, this PPT would be more than sufficient. 400 से 450 aspects है PPT में. Your ethics would be sorted out. This is my confidence as far as this is concerned. Rest, if you want to make the handwritten notes, you go ahead, but at least the diagrams which we often draw, that should definitely be made. Okay. Let's start it. We'll start with certain questions. We'll start with the theory then. You ought to maximize happiness. This is the essence of utilitarianism. That is the heart of ethics according to utilitarianism. What exactly it means is, if you look into the theory of according to them, anything which maximizes the happiness or anything which leads to maximum happiness, that action is ethical. Simple as that. The first slide talks about the essence of utilitarianism. Utility or the greatest happiness. Now the question which comes before this slide is, happiness of whom? Is it my happiness? Question mark. Or is it the happiness of maximum people? Ethical egoism talked about that one should try to maximize one's own happiness. Self-interest would maximize my happiness. For example, if I'm working in a particular community or in a particular organization, whether the company makes a profit or not, I would be more interested in maximizing my salary, my perks, and etc. Ethical egoistic would say, yeah, Divakar is perfectly right. He would be maximizing his own happiness, own self-interest. Utilitarian would also say that action which is ethical is one which maximizes the happiness. Now the point comes is, kiski happiness? They are talking about happiness of what? Own happiness or the happiness of maximum people, maximum levels, etc. Let's figure it out. What exactly they say. The greatest happiness principle holds the actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote happiness, wrong as they tend to produce rivers of happiness. Now, understand the point. Greatest happiness. The meaning of greatest happiness here is, as of now, I'm just saying you this, happiness of the maximum people. Let's take an example. If there is a particular family, if there are a number of people living in this family, triangle indicates men, circle indicates women in demography. If there are multiple people living in a single family, there is a possibility that this person wants to go and work or study outside. He wants to go to London, he wants to go to maybe Australia or somewhere outside the village. But they have a family business. Now, if you look from utilitarian's perspective, going outside would make him happy. Staying in the village or in the family itself would largely ensure family happiness. Now, if I am this person, and if I am largely going out and studying, if I leave my village despite the resistance from family members, would utilitarian call that as ethical? What do you think? Would utilitarian say, okay, he is gone out and therefore is his action ethical? No. If I evaluate this action, understand how to apply theory. Ethical egoism would say, yes, his action is absolutely ethic, maximizing his own happiness, benefit, education, go out. It's perfectly ethical. Utilitarianism also talks about happiness, but they say the happiness of maximum people. Therefore, they would call it as unethical. No, this action of Divakar was not ethical at all because it has hampered the happiness of maximum members of his family. Is the point clear? Greatest good की बात हो रही है. The word to be remembered here is greatest good. Perfect. Remember, this theory is not so simple. If it is wrong to lie, there is one example which were given in this book to make you understand. It is because lies typically lead to unhappiness. Therefore, if you ask utilitarian, is it right to lie? No, lying is wrong. Why, sir? Even if it is giving me benefit, I can earn money out of it. I can, largely get a promotion out of it. I can largely get a leadership position out of it. No, it's not right. Why? Because if you lie, that would lead to an unhappiness, stage of unhappiness. It would hamper the happiness. Oh no, sir, I am becoming more happy. Utilitarian is not focusing on your happiness alone. They are talking about the larger happiness. If wrong to torture, that is because of the suffering when lying seems to be right, when torturing is defended. Ab dhyan se samjho. By chance, I'll put this diagram here. If lie or torture, suppose both of them is leading to larger, it's accepted by the larger society. समाज में ये right माना जा रहा है. Would utilitarian justify this? Yeah. This is the problem and loophole in this theory and advantage of this theory. First, they would say this is not ethical. Why? Sir, there are chances that happiness of the maximum people would be deteriorated because if we practice this. But if suppose utilitarian wants to justify that, yeah, they are ethical, what they would say, involve avoidance of greatest suffering. Okay, it's okay if I torture some people, it's good if I torture terrorists. Why? Because torturing terrorists would increase would reduce the suffering of larger people. So entire utilitarian debate is revolving in 2 points. That action is right, which either leads to happiness of maximum people or ethically right, that which reduces the suffering of people. To make a point very clear, some actions may be there which may not give happiness to all, but if it reduces suffering to others, then also that action is ethical. Is every bacha is with me till here? So essence of utilitarianism is those all actions are ethical, either if it is maximizing the happiness of all the people or if it is reducing the suffering of all the people. So can we justify the Hitler's action? Oh, very good, Sanket. Now you are getting to the application mode. So imagine if this is the theory, then something which was considered unethical here can be considered ethical from this point. No, see, I lied for the greater good. Many times we often say this, right? No, actually I lied for the greatest good here. Because of my lie, if I am able to save 1,000 people, so it was good. I thought the greatest happiness lies here. No, actually I lied because it would reduce the suffering of others. Because if I would have actually said the truth, those persons would have been thrashed by the police. Have you seen a movie called as Munna Bhai MBBS? Oh, I do use those examples. If you look into Babuji aa rahe hain, okay, the father is coming. They change the entire setup. That guy is lying. But that guy's lie is actually ensuring the parents' dreams are fulfilled. The patients there are lying. to ensure the happiness of Ma and Bauji. There are multiple times we often lie. That Bauji also lied to police when this particular pickpocketer picked the, he largely started to steal something from Bauji. In all the three contexts, lying is wrong by utilitarian because greatest happiness nahi hota hai. But somehow, if that lie reduces the sufferings, then also it is considered as ethical. I hope you people are with me till here. Utilitarianism proposes two features. Now utilitarianism says there are two things which needs to be followed while you're judging a particular thing as right or wrong. Universality and impartiality. Universality ensures maximum. Just yourself is not the point here. Impartiality ensures that those actions would be taken care of taking into account without giving preference to any but for the greatest good. So the greatest good concept of utilitarianism talks about two things. That greatest good should be universal, that should be impartial. You cannot justify an action just because my family wanted to earn the wealth. I actually went for this corruption. No, utilitarianism would say, no, you misunderstood our concept of happiness. Our concept of happiness should be universal, everybody. Our concept of happiness should be impartial, not just your preference to your family. If that is the case, if you modify this particular aspect, then nepotism, favoritism, different types of communal aspects, all could be justified in this world. That this communal riot actually took place in order to reduce the suffering of my community. Oh no, it should be universal and impartial. So whatever the measurement criteria you are using, be that reducing suffering or increasing happiness, those criteria should be universal plus impartial. Is every bacha is with me till here? Don't ever forget these two parts here. That has to be universal and impartial. We'll debate on this, whether the universal happiness principle can be established or not. We'll focus on it, but let's first understand the basic of the theory. If I look into the issue of this theory, what is the problem in the utilitarianism? The issues present in utilitarianism are much more greater when compared to the benefits which utilitarianism can give. If you look into the theory of consequentialism, both ethical egoism and utilitarianism, they are misused theories. They give an opportunity for the people to misinterpret the utilitarian aspect of happiness. There are many people, just like somebody gave an example of Hitler. For the greater good of the Germany, I should largely be taking a stand here to announce the World War II. Suppose, just a hypothetical situation. The goal there was the greatest good of Germany, but that was not impartial, that was partial, only to a particular race, only to a particular country. There are issues present in utilitarianism. Let's look into what is utilitarianism. Issues in that. The theory by definition is hedonistic. Now, what is hedonistic? Self-welfare, self-celebration, self-happiness, individualistic, only thinking about self. Yeah, no doubt. There is a high possibility that if you do not take into account the impartial and universal aspect and you only look into happiness, maximizing happiness. Imagine if you and I just only focus on maximizing happiness by justifying utilitarian said that, then we'd actually be not using the theory, but we would be largely giving only preference to our needs, hedonistic. Its key value being happiness. People would always think about themselves whenever the notion of happiness comes. In very rare cases where Plato talked about philosopher kings, the people who are extremely altruistic, only very few people exist, at least in the modern society, who are altruistic in nature. They would think about their self-welfare. Happiness is prior to right. The second issue in utilitarianism is, I'll write all the issues. Okay, clear, right? if possible, draw this chart. Issues in utilitarianism. First issue, hedonistic. Second issue, the right is given less importance, happiness is given more importance. Happiness is emphasized over rights. Whether it is rightful or not doesn't matter. It should maximize the happiness of all. Imagine if I loot the wealth from capitalists and if I distribute to all the people in the world, am I ethical? Am I ethical, guys? According to utilitarianism, yes, you are. You did not discriminate between people, you distributed the wealth to all. Yes, utilitarianism would say, yeah, this guy is purely Robin Hood. He is ethical. And that's the reason we celebrate people like Robin Hood, right? Oh, he is purely ethical. But according to our, socialization, we would say, no, this is not right. Why? Because you are becoming you are following deontology. Aage aayenge, what is next theory is deontology. The third issue is, therefore, they do not focus on rights. They only focus on maximizing happiness. Maximum happiness is prevalent. Go ahead with this. There is no concept of right or wrong. Right, so to speak, commands us. The good attracts us. This particular book talked about what is the meaning of right. Right is something which is going to command. No, this is my right. Good is something which attracts it. So it's so good if I can buy iPhone 16. For utilitarians, right actions to be right must be for the good, that is for the greatest happiness. So only those rights should be present which maximizes the happiness of all the people. And that is the point. Even rights are interpreted on the basis of happiness. Universality and impartiality are the important basis of utilitarianism. But even this has been criticized. How? Universality and impartiality are not sufficient for a theory to be moral or an ethical theory. Why? Look at the example they have given. That no one can travel faster than light is universal, impartial. But is that ethical? No, it's not an ethical value. Applies impartially, but it is not a moral arena. So utilitarian believes anything which is universal, anything which is impartial, that is the topic of ethical dilemmas, ethical aspects. But many universal or impartial principles many times do not largely come in the ethical arena, as this slide clearly shows. Therefore, the notions of, I'll write this slide as a different one, universal and impartial. This aspect has also been criticized. Criticism are, first, anything which is universal or impartial need not be ethical value. I understand. Whoever has criticized this part, they are actually mad. And this is technically not a critique. I mean, did utilitarianism say that anything which is universal and impartial, that are ethics? No, they did not say this. What they said was, any ethical action should be evaluated from the perspective of this. So I would not give much value to the first critique here. Because if the utilitarian would have said that anything which is universal and impartial is ethics, they only said in order to be ethical, that is right, those values which you are following should be impartial and universal. Is the point clear here? So this is not actually a proper critique, but since it was discussed, then that's the reason I've actually written it here. Utilitarianism raises another typical worry. There is another concern present here. Morality's foundations. Oh, what's the concern? What is the source of greatest happiness principle? That's a problem. The second issue which comes here is, What is universal happiness or maximum happiness? Do you really think that the concept of happiness can be universalized? Utilitarianism talks about greatest happiness of all. But how do you identify the greatest happiness of all? The greatest happiness of the people of India in the traditional society lied in caste values. But was those systems ethical? Yeah, as far as those times are concerned, people did consider those systems as ethical. But in reality, you would come across, can we ever identify universal happiness? What, according to you, is your stand? Can universal happiness ever be identified? What is that value which would make all people happy? I mean, I doubt. In fact, I think you would also doubt. Ki, no, sir, this is difficult one. Would it be having the food which you like would bring greatest happiness? Would it be equality which would bring greatest happiness? Difficult to say. Because in many societies, even equality is considered as bad. Why? Equality of outcomes. Oh, no, no, we don't. We want to remain unequal. Equality was not also celebrated. Then there is always a question that universal happiness principles can ever be found, established. Can we ever identify what makes all the people happy? Now, they believe it could be. Example is here. Okay, why universality cannot be ensured as far as universal happiness is concerned. You can never find that principle. Take an example. Honesty, promise keeping, even life preservations. All these may come under pressure if utilitarian justification holds sway. कि reality में देखेंगे, I'll write this critique first. If you follow utilitarianism in determining right and wrong actions, the larger values present in society upon which our society rests may fall. How? If I look into all these values, they are the basic apostles of any society. Any society would largely be establishing these values in order to largely remain in existence, make human life, cordial human life, social order based human life possible. But if some utilitarianism starts evaluating them, there is a possibility even honesty may largely lead to suffering, and the people may largely justify dishonesty. Oh, so what, man, if I'm going for, dishonesty? Let's take an example. I'll ask you a question. ठीक. Suppose everybody listen to it carefully. There is a good example so that you understand this point. Suppose there is this guy and there are 4 people here. Let's take 3 people here. They come to this guy and they ask the timings of the train. ठीक. Oh, guys, what is the time of this train to Delhi? Please, can you just tell me? We often do that, right? When we go to railway station, to all those coolies who are present, we often ask them time, right? Can you just tell me on which platform this particular train would come? We often would have done that. Let's assume 3 strangers are there who is asking the time of the particular train to this particular strange fellow here. Suppose first act, he lies. Utilitarianism would say, oh, no, 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 that's wrong. That would largely not maximize the happiness. You should not lie. Because of you, their tour has been hampered. Their business has been hampered. Till here, it's okay. Fine. Therefore, they will not justify lie. But suppose if this person lies, act 2, and tomorrow these three people are caught as terrorists, then utilitarian would give a pat at the back. Very good. You maximize the happiness of all. How, sir? You actually reduce their sufferings. They could have taken their act to a different manner. Many people would have lost life. This is the problem in utilitarianism. If we follow utilitarianism, many of the actions which are looking immoral from the larger perspective, if maximum happiness is imposed on them, then many of these values would often fall in society. There are problems that in prismatic society or a society living in a very abrupt conditions, honesty may largely reduce the maximum happiness. There is a possibility that if honesty is reducing the maximum happiness, utilitarianists would say, no, let's forget about the happiness, let's look into dishonesty. Honesty is not giving happiness. Is every bacha with me till here? That if you follow utilitarianism, many of the basic principles of society may fall, as if these principles are not leading to happiness of maximum people, utilitarianists would call them as unethical actions. With me till here? Because under utilitarian pressures, they may largely be justified as unethical. No, that was not right. You shouldn't have been honest here. Come on. How could you be? So I hope this is clear. Now the question which comes is, what if the happiness lies in others' pain? Suppose if that is the case. Look at these characters. There are many characters like this. There may be societies like autocrats. If the happiness of the larger people may lie in the suffering of the other sections of population, is that ethical? Simplistically seen from the utilitarian perspectives, yes, they are ethical, because if it is maximizing the happiness of all the people, it is ethical. But in reality, this would never be considered as ethical, because if you are trying to bring sufferings to others, then you are actually not being ethical here. Let's look into an example. If you are not having your food on time, and if your mom or dad being very emotionally attached to you, if they largely suffer mental pressures because of you, I'm taking an example at an individual level, then in that circumstances, do you really think your dieting is actually bringing pleasure to the family, or is it bringing displeasure to the family? There are many people who commit suicide in society just in order to hurt others. There are many people who takes their action not to maximize their happiness, but they take their actions only in order to make others suffer. Is that happiness? No. So many times the very vague concept of happiness upon which this entire theory is built can completely be demolished. As building a theory on vague notion of maximum happiness, where the concept of happiness in itself cannot be defined. Maximum concept can never be defined. In that circumstances, if the happiness of people lies in the sufferings of others, there is a lot of challenge which may largely come up. In this world, many times we have seen the Jews in Germany were targeted. It made, maybe the Germans very happy, Germany very happy, but in no way that action can be considered as ethical. But utilitarians would call that action as ethical. Why? Oh, entire Germany was happy, just only Jews were actually suffering. That's okay. No, that's not the right way of developing an ethical society. Is the point clear? Yeah, sadistic pleasure. People many times find happiness in sadness. If you look into the ghazal singers, there are many happy people who listen to sad songs when they are happy. There's one example here. Bentham's happiness is solely a matter of pleasure and absence of pain. Jeremy Bentham. One immediate worry is that some people gain pleasure from inflicting pain on non consenting others. Why consider those pleasures valuable? Why should we consider those pleasures of giving unhappiness or sadness to others as pleasures themselves? Perhaps such pleasures can lack utilitarian support because reduced overall happiness. But if you interpret outside Bentham's direction, as I interpreted in the context of Jews in the Germany, it's all my interpretations which can largely justify that there is possibility that happiness of people may lie in the sadness and still utilitarianism can go ahead with it. So that is a complicated thing. If I follow utilitarian ethics, there is a possibility tomorrow I'll make you suffer, because that is maximizing happiness of others, and that's the reason I'm making you suffer. Many times in Hindi or in the northern India, or maybe in the southern India as well as India, we see that बहुत सारे लोग लोगों को दुख देके अच्छा फील करते हैं. They feel better when they largely provide sufferings to others, in the context of women's, in the context of sad marriages, in the context of sad leaders. Many times they bring sadness to the people, but yet utilitarian would not live them. That's good. The next thing which we need to understand about utilitarianism is happiness possible without pain? What is utilitarianism saying? Either reduces suffering, either increases happiness. Now, the point is this: is not suffering the basis of becoming happy? The point which I put it up here. Only when you suffer, then you actually, when you achieve a particular goal, you cherish and be happy for that goal, right? In Hindi, there is one proverb or lukokti which says that कि किस तरीके से हम जब खो के कोई चीज पाते हैं तो उसका एक मजा अलग होता है. Anything which is easily achieved, that may not make you happy. Anything which you have suffered a lot, that actually makes you happy. But utilitarianism would not focus on such suffering. Bolo, no, are you mad? It's a suffering. Forget about it. No. Happiness and sufferings were clearly demarcated by utilitarianism. In reality, the suffering many times becomes the basis of building greater happiness. Jaise, only when the people suffer, they realize the importance of the greater good in the society. So one would have to suffer. The distinction made by utilitarianism that happiness is absence of suffering, that is not applicable in the real world. In real world, we often see suffering is strongly intertwined with happiness. Only the suffering can largely make you more compassionate, more happy person or happy personalities. And that's the reason I often say almost anybody. Yeah, Thanos was perfectly utilitarian, Mokal. He was looking for the greater good. Thanos followed the utilitarian theory. Thanos was one of the villain in Avengers movie. And he wanted to destroy half of the population because his goal was that world should survive. The population, the carrying capacity of the earth has existed. A good example, Thanos ka. Now you can go ahead. So is happiness possible without pain? I've written one slide here. Look at this. Happiness involving contentment is valuable. Yes. But happiness also requires struggles, pains. Perhaps to develop worthwhile talents or achieve desirable ends, even to solve crossword puzzles, you would have to suffer. But utilitarianism never talks about that suffering can lead to happiness. There is a possibility. The utilitarianism clearly demarcates that sufferings and happiness are poles apart. With me? Coming to the next aspect of all these are weakness of utilitarianism. And an entire weakness rests on their thesis of happiness. They could not define the greatest happiness. That's the problem. Is there difference between different pleasures and happiness? There are different types of happinesses. And there are some things which are pleasures. Look at this picture. Happiness lies here, pleasure lies here. This is one meme which I've taken from a movie called as K3G, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. There is a difference between pleasure and happiness, right? Happiness scholars, utilitarian scholars, they never distinguish between them. And in reality, because of this, many times people misunderstand their pleasures are happiness. Just like no pain, no gain. Many times your pleasures are misunderstood as happiness. Oh, this is pleasurable, that's the reason I'm happy. Good food provides you pleasure, not happiness. Yeah, there is a possibility emotional satisfaction can also happen. But food gives you pleasure, man. That does not give you happiness. You are actually getting confused between pleasures and happiness. Happiness is what? Pleasure is completing the syllabus. Happiness is when you are able to integrate the syllabus. Oh, now I am becoming having expertise of my syllabus. In order to make you understand that there is a difference between pleasure and happiness, understand. Higher pleasures, for example, poetry, are more valuable than lower pleasures such as, pain or different types of games, different types of, momentary happiness or pleasures which gives you. If you look into the pleasures, there are two types of pleasures. These higher pleasures may give you happiness. The lower types of pleasures do not give you happiness, they give you momentary satisfaction. So the utilitarians could not distinguish between pleasure and happiness. They believed pleasure is nothing but happiness. But in reality, there is a difference where there are some types of pleasures, playing a video game, playing something like that at the best can give you pleasure, that may not give you happiness. But there are certain higher types of pleasures which do leads to building up of a happy personality. For example, doing or donating something to someone else, that gives you that happiness. That's the best dopamine, what you have mentioned here, Mayank. That's the best dopamine rush, at least for people like many people. That is a higher pleasure. Enlightenment, meditation, all these are higher stage of pleasures which actually truly makes you happy. Obviously, in enlightenment, there's nothing happiness and there's nothing sad. But we'll not go to Yoga Sutra right now. The next thing which we need to understand is modification in utilitarianism. There are things which can be modified here. There are things which are open to interpretations. There are things which have already been modified. What is that? To overcome that objection, that requirement to maximize happiness is sometimes replaced by that of doing enough. Understand what they are saying. When people of utilitarianism found that their theory is actually a blunder, oh my God, there are so many problems. More than the people learning the theory, people are criticizing utilitarianism. So utilitarianists modified their theory. What was the modification made? Modification was, let's not look into maximum happiness. Becoming difficult. There are more critiques here if we follow this. What we should do? Doing your best, in short, replaced by that of doing enough, or at least of increasing overall happiness by some degree. Even if you are able to increase your happiness a bit overall, or if you are doing enough to increase overall happiness, that is nothing but ethical. Oh, wait a second. From maximum happiness to incremental happiness. Because the word maximum was not able to be defined, and because of this, people started criticizing this. They gave following different types of critiques which we discussed here. Therefore, utilitarianism then started stressing, no, okay, now let's not focus on the maximum happiness, let's focus on the incremental happiness. that if my actions are able to increase the level of happiness, if it is not taking it to maximum, that's okay. Even that should be ethical. But that should be for the maximum people, that should be for the universal, that should be impartial in nature. So there happened a modification in utilitarianism where they replaced the maximum happiness with incremental happiness. Is everybody with me till here? Pushpin is a game, yaar. Janmajaya. It's a game. Pushpin a game hota hai. Many times nowadays we see different types of stress busters game, right? It's actually a game. Pushpins. So that's the reason I've used that, because that particular book used it. So you should not focus on maximizing happiness. You should focus on incremental happiness. Oh, okay, sir. Any example? Let's focus here. Visiting your ancestral homes or your ailing aunt may not maximize the happiness of your family, but can certainly increase the happiness of your family. Tu aa gaya yaar. Acha, thank you for coming. That's an incremental happiness. Because yeah, I don't know whether it would maximize the happiness of entire family or not, but definitely it would increase their happiness. So I should be doing this. They will be happy. That is incremental happiness. Many times you people may largely would have gone through this scenario. Playing with your children for few minutes, for few hours, or a single hour can increase their happiness. So you should play with them. It may not maximize their happiness, because their maximum happiness lies in dad should resign from StudyIQ and they should only play with them. But again, if I take utilitarianism, if I resign, who would earn? If I don't earn, their happiness would come down. They're not able to go to school. But their maximum happiness lies in what? Dad should completely be with us forever and ever for the entire day. If I only focus on that, then I'll never take an action on that. So they changed. Okay, let's focus on incremental happiness. Once when the theory comes from here to here, it becomes more digestible. Okay, let's take an incremental happiness. How? Clearing prelims could be a very good example. Falguni. Yeah, it could actually be a Falguni Singh. First name is very complicated. I could not read it. Yeah, there is an incremental. But is this one clear to all of you? Every day a UPSC aspirant tries to achieve that incremental happiness. One more syllabus, one more page, one more topic, one more day, and that increases your happiness. So utilitarian was later modified and it changed the notion of maximum happiness to incremental happiness. Now I'm summarizing the problem with consequentialism. If people have missed yesterday's class, consequentialism is the theory which we have completed. Under consequentialism, there was ethical egoism, there was utilitarianism. We looked into the problems of both of them. We started with utilitarianism today. Now I am talking about overall consequentialism, whichever it could be. I think the font has changed here. Okay, no issues. How to determine the consequences, outcomes of one's action? Consequentialism believes the consequences of your action determines whether it is ethical or not. The first question is how to determine the consequences of one's action. If the action does not produce greatest good for greatest numbers, should the moral agent be blamed? By chance, if I believe that consequences is maximizing happiness, but if by chance, if I take that action and if I'm not able to produce the greatest good, I thought it would be the greater good for the society if I largely participate or start a protest. But there is a possibility that that protest could not lead to the greatest good. So should I be blamed for that? Take an example. The COVID-19 lockdown was for the greatest good. Okay, complete lockdown should be there in order to tackle this particular pandemic, which has been the problems faced by the entire world. But there is a possibility that the lockdown could not lead to, restrain the spread of COVID. Many people still traveled, and as a result, COVID spread. But is the actor to be blamed for that? See, you actually could not do this. If you are blaming that moral agent or a person who is doing that despite keeping in mind the maximum happiness, then actually we are not doing it right with the agent. How do we measure utility or good? The question comes is the same. How can we measure that what is good for all? COVID-19 lockdown, good for all? Oh, many people largely became paupers, poor. Many people lost their life. Many people were separated from family. Many people got stuck in between in the strange islands. Oh, how do you then identify the greatest good? In the theory, the moral agent should give equal weightage to the interest of all the stakeholders. Yeah, maximum happiness. But in practice, the moral agent might try to maximize his self-interest. But in reality, most of our actions are not talking about maximum happiness. You want to become IAS, maybe not probably for the welfare of the country. You want to become an IAS officer, maybe probably for your own welfare. There is a possibility. It propounds that ends justify the mean and ignores some acts which might be wrong in itself. The third criticism is, first, we are not able to identify greatest good. Second, even if I identify greatest good, then in consequentialism, there is a problem. If that does not occur, then who should be blamed? Third, how do we identify the greatest good itself? In practice, there are many people who may largely not go for greatest good. They may go for their own self-interest. And the last one, मान लो, you identify the greatest good, you target the greatest good, but there is a possibility that this theory only runs on the consequences of an action. What about the means? Here is the debate which you often would have heard in ethics. Ends and means debate. Consequentialism only focuses on ends. Whatever may be the way, you need to maximize your self-happiness, ethical egoism, or maximum happiness, utilitarianism. How you do that is not a matter of concern. By killing, by charity, by donation, by speaking the truth, by not speaking the truth, doesn't matter. The means are never emphasized in consequentialism, because in consequentialism, you only focus on the consequences of an action, not on the means of an action. This is the biggest crisis of consequentialism, especially this point. And it, because of the weakness of not giving appropriate focus to the means, the second approach developed called as deontology. Is every bacha with me till here? Now we come to the second theory. First theory was consequentialism. Under that we studied two theories. Now I'm going to start with deontology. The best possible picture analysis of deontology is this. मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता. So, if you look from utilitarianism, consequence is important. Take the money, get lost, be happy. Deontology would say, no. It's not about whether you're giving me money. It's how you are actually giving me money. They just throw it like, no, I'm not going to take that. Here, means are stressed, ends are not stressed. So, consequentialism stresses on ends. Deontology stresses on, it's a part of normative ethics. All the theory are normative ethics. Krishna, all these theories would be becoming part of normative ethics. So normative ethics, first theory consequentialism, second theory deontology. Don't worry about deontology. It's a very simple one. It's much more authentic when compared to utilitarianism. It's much more practical when compared to utilitarianism. Deontology focuses on means. They do not focus on ends. I don't know what has happened to the PPT here. Why it is coming like that? Okay, no issues. One important picturization of deontology is this. संस्कार बड़े अच्छे हैं इसके, हमारे से बड़े हैं इसके. It always focuses on means. It's not about whether the thing was right or wrong. It's all about how the thing was done, which determines it's right or wrong. So the focus is on means. Let's look into this. Moral worth of an action is determined by the nature of the action itself, how you do it, and not the consequences of the action. Certain types of actions are right or wrong regardless of their outcomes. Whether it maximizes happiness or not doesn't matter. That actions are wrong because the way you perform that, the means you did to perform that is wrong. So complete focus is on means. Duty, rule-based ethics, ends do not justify means. They are focusing on rights, they are focusing on duties, and they believe that ends would never justify means. Deontology believes that decision should be taken on the basis of disinterested will of the person, following rationality and duty, whatever be the cost or consequence may turn out to be. You should not bother about consequences. If it is right to do, you should be doing. But sir, maximum happiness would not occur. Doesn't matter. We are not bothered about consequences. The means are important, whatever may be the consequences. Tomorrow, if you are being honest, and if the Prime Minister largely is losing the position because of your honesty, it's okay. Doesn't matter. You should always do what is right. Whether others are doing or not is not your problem. You should follow the right means, even if the consequences may be negative. Because if it is a rule, if it's your duty, you should perform that. Just like being a UPSC aspirant, you have certain duties. Just like being a teacher of civil services, I have certain duties. If I am following my duty, then I am ethical. If you are following your duty, then you are ethical. Whether you crack the exam or not, whether I am largely able to get the results or not, is not the consequence. You should always focus on your means. If that is right, do it. Is with me, everybody? Immanuel Kant, one of the most important proponent of deontology, and John Rawls provide way of the most important versions of deontology. So these were two important. Rawls' theory of justice and Immanuel Kant's theory are the two important aspects who talks about, who developed this theory to its highest possible extent. Let's figure it out. Deontology, Kant, he coined a concept called as categorical imperatives. It's okay if you don't remember the term, because the questions have not appeared from theory. Theories have to be used in your answers. Categorical imperative means absolute, unambiguous, no confusion, and unconditional obligations to follow one's duty and irrespective of consequences. Categorical imperatives means there exist certain universal rules which you should be following, and irrespective of whatever be the consequences. So if I am a nurse, my duty is to provide and ensure the health of all the patients who comes to me. Whether he is Pakistani, Chinese, Indian, American, that is not my problem. Categorical imperative talks about such universal rules and duties exist in the world. If we concern ourselves with outcomes, we are often misled and tempted to act in our own benefits. Deontologists like Kant believe that tomorrow, if you start taking action on the basis of outcome, you will be more selfish. You should always focus on the means. Ends would automatically come. And even when the ends are negative, you don't have to be worried. Your action was ethical, that would be justified. Two principles of categorical imperatives. Act on the maxim that, remember these. This point has to be remembered, guys. Act on the maxim that act on the maxim that you can will to be a universal law. कहने का मतलब, I think कुछ बीच में इधर ऊपर गड़बड़ हुआ है. The first principle is, do not do to others what you don't want others to do. That's the first principle. कि The principle of this is that you should always ensure that you would follow such a principle that do not do to others what you don't want others to do to you. That's the base of categorical imperative. Always follow the duty and always follow those principles where the principles are such that if somebody does that to you, you would feel bad. So therefore, don't do that to particular others. In order to understand this, there are two aspects which I've taken here. What do you understand from this? Picture speaks more than words. In Indian society, there is a particular way where the women are to be, women have to act in a particular manner. If you have seen this movie, it's not about the movie, it's more about the culture. There are certain cultural values which you would have to abide by, and abiding those cultural values would be important, and that would determine whether you have been ethical or not. At the same time, look at the other side of the story. This is a particular son who largely tries to save his father. Good. But at the same time, in this particular scene, which became quite viral, he is not following those universal duty principles. And a son cannot behave with father like this. Sun raha hoon, main behra nahi hoon. He cannot shout on father. So in short, what exactly this slide says is, deontology of Kant believes that there are certain universal principles of duty which everybody should follow. Even if while following those principles, if you are able to largely bring certain negative results on the society, that's perfectly fine, because your action should be judged on the basis of how you perform rather than what are the consequences of it. So it's complete opposite of utilitarianism. Kant addresses people as rational, autonomous agents. They can govern ourselves. We can override our biological urges, selfishness, and personal ambitions. That governance is shown in the performance of our moral duties. Now, the point which comes is, many people often question Kantians or deontologists. Okay, let's assume this is Kant. He said that there are certain universal principles should be followed. Simple as that. Now, many people say that, why would people follow universal principle, man? Come on, people would not follow that. People are selfish, brutish, nasty. Kant says, no, that's not the case. Kant had a very positive understanding or optimistic understanding of human behavior, where Kant advocated that humans are actually rational, they are logical, and they would always follow the set of principles. They would always focus on their means, and if the means are not right, humans would not choose them. Therefore, this is the assumption of Kant, that people are rational. In reality, people are rational or not, people are logical or not, it's difficult for me to say, because in reality, both deontology and consequentialism are waste of time, because both only talk about single aspect of ethics. We'll come into the case study of Jim and Joe, where you will understand both theories fall. According to Kant, it certainly matters that at least I, a rational agent, understand very clearly. This is the important slide. Do not act immorally, even if the result may be negative, or even if people are largely acting immorally. Many times you would see now in civil services, you will face dilemmas. If all the people are doing corruption, that does not justify that you should also become corrupt. At least from deontological perspective, that would not be justified. Okay, maybe the people are corrupt, but you should largely follow your own ethics. If you become one among them, you would have no right to say that they are unethical. These people are largely not following the rights and wrongs of a given thing. According to Kant, you should never lose your ethics. You should be ethical, whether the outcome is positive, negative. We act freely when doing what is right. Why Kant stress so much on humans? I mean, why he was so confident about humans that they would always follow the right means? Look at this. When doing what is right, but always acting unfreely when doing what is wrong. What it means? We act freely when we are doing right things. But whenever you are doing wrong things, somehow that pressure would be there. Do you agree with that? Okay, reality mein there are a lot of pressures. Whenever we are doing a wrong thing, even if others are not able to know, our body language discloses that. Right? Ah, yes. That's the reason Kant said that a person would act very freely if he's actually doing the right thing. And whenever he is doing the wrong thing, he will not have that free will. He will not have a free aspect. I'll give you an example of it. There was a time before 1.5 to 2 months or 3 months or 1 year down the line, I used to exceptionally enjoy the teaching. But from past 5 to 6 days, you know, I've seen that I have started losing my temper. In the morning sociology batch, I actually lost my temper. Why? Because I was being deontological. Sorry, I was being utilitarian, and the students were following deontology. I was trying to maximize their happiness, but they were actually focusing only on means. But after the class, I actually realized when I analyzed my action, and I cannot expect everybody to be same. And I realized what is the cause behind me becoming sometimes so aggressive. I realized that my classes are from 9 to 9. My legs actually crumble at 7:30. I'm not able to sleep in the night because the pain of the body is so extreme. Shouting and teaching for 10, 11 hours a day, my mind actually gets blocked after a particular period of time. And maybe this is burnout, which is actually impacting my behavior. Today it is impacting my behavior, tomorrow it will impact my quality, day after tomorrow it will impact my health. That means I may not be behaving freely here. And when you are actually not behaving freely, then you are definitely doing something wrong. Is the point clear? Kant thinks humans are rational. I'll summarize this theory at the end of it. Criticism of Kant's categorical imperatives. But before going to criticism, there is one summary which I want to give of Kant, so that all the bacha log understands this. I'm drawing the diagram, please do draw it. Theories of ethics. First theory was consequentialism. Second theory is deontology. Deontology talks about, they focus on means, not ends. Only one line you should remember. This theory was discussed by Kant, who gave the concept of categorical imperatives. What are categorical imperatives? Certain universal rules and regulation. Which should be followed by people, irrespective of whether it brings positive or negative outcomes. Kant believed that these universal rules exist because the humans are rational. Human beings are rational, therefore these rules would exist. Till here, only these 2 points you should remember, nothing else. My goal is to show you slide to give you better explanation, but these are the 2 points which you should remember till here. But this categorical imperative has also been criticized. Problems है इसके अंदर. There are certain problems which exist here. Criticism of Kant's categorical imperative. Guys, हाँ ठीक है. Give me 1 minute. Okay, sorry. uh, Categorical imperatives has been criticized. First one, total neglect of consequences. Kant does not give any importance to consequences. When utilitarianism only focused on consequences, they only focus on means. Both the ways they are not right. Neither consequentialism, neither Kant. It converts dynamic human beings into static machines, taking decisions just on the basis of reasons. Can't believe humans are absolutely rational. They will always stick to the means, but that is something which makes human dumb sometime. If you always take actions on the basis of your reasonable capacities, there is a possibility you may violate the emotional aspects of your life. There is a possibility that you may completely become. Uh, Thank you. There is a possibility that you may completely no, not required. There is a there is a possibility that you may completely largely ignore your emotional well-being, and that may be the price which you may pay. So, choosing between different types of rational and emotional aspects, Kant would believe that you are a rational being, you will follow your duty, but sometimes following your duty may make you more frustrated. I'll give you the best possible example of my own sister. When my sister was pregnant, that is during the time of COVID, both of them are doctors. That is my sister's husband and sister herself. During the time of COVID, my brother-in-law's duty was there in the COVID ward. And because of that, in their flat, they used to live. My brother used to go to the hospitals, perform his duty as per Kant, following the rules of duty. But while performing this duty, he was not able to give adequate time to my pregnant sister, where she required, emotional support because of the hormonal changes and many things which the woman's body changes during the time of pregnancies. That support was not there. In fact, when he used to come back from the hospital, he used to largely stay on the terrace for not 1 day, 2 days. He stayed there for roughly 3 months, 4 months. So according to Kant, he was performing his moral duty, taking care of those weak ones, taking care of those COVID patients in the hospitals. So yes, he did follow the means, but while following those rational means, he could have taken an holiday. No, I'm sorry, sir, I cannot come. My wife is pregnant. There is a high risk of transmitting COVID to the baby who is not even born. That may create complications. That was something which he could not follow here. So always following the reasons, always following the rationality, many times that is not the right way. Many times you may end up becoming unethical in system. No, I am following the letters of law, that's it. I am not going to follow the emotions and the spirits behind it. So that's the problem. If a civil servant only follows the means, there is a strong negative impact with the entire society would largely be paying, because the goal of a civil servant is not to follow the means. The goal of the civil servant is also to achieve the goals. There is no focus on achieving the goals as far as the Kant's theory is concerned. Guys, break nahi hai. I'm sorry, it was just a water need which I actually had. Is the criticism clear? There is a problem. Just like utilitarianism cannot give you the complete explanation of it, the Kant's theory of categorical imperatives is also having its own weaknesses. You would have to follow the order. I approve this. Always follow the means. Many times the means may be bad, the duties may be exploitative. With me, bachalok. Rawls' theory of deontology. Let's understand only the deontological part of it, not the Rawls' theory of justice as such. Wheel of ignorance. I'll explain the entire slide in the single aspect. What is Rawls saying is this. Understand, you can read the PPT when it comes to you. I think there are some issues in this particular board because the PPT is not coming right. Rawls gave a concept of wheel of ignorance. Deontology of Rawls. A very simple concept. Understand this. What Rawls says is, if there are three people in the society, I mean, this Rawls did not give this example, I'm just giving a hypothetical scenario. Suppose in this particular studio, if there are 10 people and they have been informed about, they know the details of each other very well. And if they are now to take a decision, then any decision taken in these circumstances would largely not be just. Because everybody, since they know each other, there is a possibility that people would largely try to take the decision which gives benefits to themselves. Rawls says that there should exist wheel of ignorance. People should sit together without knowing each other. And on the basis of that, they should largely frame the laws, duties, and then follow those laws and duties. Simple as that. Why? Imagine if there is a group. There is this person, there is this person, there is this person, and there is this person. They are given a topic, how to frame a rule in order to bring transparency and accountability in bureaucracy, suppose. Or what should be the duties of this particular MNCs? Or what should be the manifesto of this particular political party? Whatever may be the thing. It could also be, where should we go for a holiday? Whatever it could be. The people in this particular room, they do not know each other. Therefore, there exists wheel of ignorance. You are ignorant of the reality. When you are ignorant of the reality, whatever discussion takes place between these people, they would be not from particular perspective. They would give the most rational way of achieving these goals. But if people knew their own reality, positions, powers, and others as well, people may not give their true reality. People may largely try to put up those rules which may be beneficial for the communities or themselves. This is wheel of ignorance. So what is Rawls saying? The means should be framed by wheel of ignorance. Whatever means, ethical means which we are trying to formulate in the society, those should be formed by people who are completely ignorant. I'll give you the best example in history. I'm actually forgetting this particular race or ethnicity. Was it Greeks? Was it Spartans? I somewhere read this. That these people used to discuss on a topic in two manners. First, they used to sit on a serious discussion, look into every dimension of the issue, and then they used to drink to their maximum, and then discuss the topic. And ultimately, they then came out with what, only then when they have completed both the parts of their topics, both the ways of discussions, only then they would largely take a decision. Why? First, a logical discussion would be taken up when people are in full senses. Then when they are intoxicated to the highest most level, now when these people speak, they would not bother about the status and their own position because they are not in their consciousness. Now whatever they speak, they would actually speak from their heart. And only then the decision would be taken. Technically, that was one of the best way of practicing wheel of ignorance by this particular community. Because if actually we are framing the means, then there is a possibility the laws would always be framed by keeping somebody's welfare into account. If the wheel of ignorance exists, there is a possibility that people would able to frame ethical means in society. Is everybody with me? The Rawls theory of deontology talks about the means which are existing in society should be framed by following wheel of ignorance, that you should start from scratch without using your existing knowledge. Only then you will understand the topic and you will come to the right means through which the society or principles which the society would be following. The entire detail is given here. Okay, what exactly is wheel of ignorance? Just read it once in the PPT because the essence is something which I have explained it to you. This is one good example which I could correlate with this, that he did not take into account the status of that particular chief minister. He just was ignorant. He only treated that person as a person who has come to interview and started asking hard questions. If you would have been conscious about, I am taking an interview of CM, there is a possibility he would have never posed the hard questions. There is immediate requirement that media should largely become like that of Nayak. Now let's understand both deontology and utilitarianism through an example. I want everybody to give their full attention. If anybody has any confusion till now, that entire confusion would be taken care from this particular example. This is a case study. I will keep on writing the characters here and you would give me the answer. Important, interesting, maza aayega. Bernard Williams' vivid tale. There was one person who gave a tale of this. Tale of what? Jim's finding himself in a South American village. Okay. Suppose this is a South American village. Suddenly, Jim lands up here. I'll write the entire case study in diagrammatic form. Okay. Tied up against the wall are 20 terrified Indians, randomly selected. In this, if you zoom into this, the situation looks like that. There is one wall. There are 20 Indians who are tied up. Let's assume these are 20. Jim is standing here. He lands in this island. He sees that there are 20 Indians who are tied up. Because of recent anti-government protest, the cause of that tie-up is also that these people were going against the government. Okay. So they were caught. An army officer is about to shoot these innocent dead. Okay. Another character comes. There is this guy who is an officer ready to shoot all the 20 people. Thick with me. This guy, he sees there is this guy who is ready. He is, ready to shoot these 20 people at the same time. Is about to shoot this innocent dead to remind future possible protest of the advantage of not protesting, so that the others learns the lessons. Okay, you should never protest. Okay, fine. A captain is in charge. Since Jim is an honored visitor from another land, the captain is happy to offer him a guest privilege of killing one of the Indians himself. If Jim accepts this, then as a special mark of occasion, the other Indians would be left free. Oh, what is that? Since this I'll write captain here. Since Jim has landed up here, and there is a rule in this particular land that if any guest visits their land, And if such incident is going on, there is one value present here in this society. What is the value? This captain would offer Jim one opportunity. What is that? Kill anyone. Okay. Jim is then given an opportunity. See, since you have come from the far off lands, there is a riti rivaj, there is a cultural practice in our island that if any far away guest comes to our land, it's our honor to honor that guest. It's our pleasure to honor that guest. So I am honoring you today. You have landed in the right time. I am giving you an opportunity that kill any one out of these 20. Okay, Jim says fine. Okay, then the case is other 19s would be free. I'll free all the 19 people. What should Jim do? Tell me. If you were that Jim, what would you have done? क्या करते हैं आप? A pure ethical dilemma. Mada. Oh, trolley problem is already solved, yaar Prem. Trolley problem, 5 people, 7 people, single fat boy. Already Cambridge University has resolved that debate. Look into the papers, you will find that. I am just taking a hypothetical example because in this book, this was a beautiful example it was given, explaining all the theories from this. And in future also, oh no, come on, you cannot change the scenario. Mukul, don't become extra smart, man. I mean, see, I'm not giving you a situation. Obviously, you cannot kill a captain. Thoda sa common sense is missing, Mukul. Or maybe you're trying to put up a joke here. That's perfectly fine if that is the case. Kill the captain. Good one, but okay. According to utilitarianism, oh Sanket, you are going in right direction. That's the way. Now, two different theories would follow two different approach. If I go from utilitarianism, maximum happiness, what I would do? I'll accept the offer. Why? Utilitarianism would come and say, see, Jim, you should go for maximum happiness. If you are actually killing one, you are going to largely save 19 people, and that is going to maximize their happiness, their family's happiness, etc., etc. Utilitarianism will always focus kill one, free others. But what would deontology say? Focusing on means? One should follow one's ethics, duty, irrespective of whether the outcomes are ethical or unethical. If you look from deontological perspective, Jim would never kill. I mean, at least should never kill. If Jim kills by chance, then he has violated his own ethics. If Jim do not kill, at least Jim would not be criticized of unethical action. That's a different story that captain is unethical or people are unethical. Jim should not violate his or her ethics. He should follow the ethics. Why? Deontology would tell you that killing of one would lead to the means. The way you saved the others was not right. If there was a possibility that you can save all the 20 people by following certain types of other things which are ethical, okay, I could have taken a call. If I kill, on one hand, I may have saved 19 people, but at the same time, I'll become a goddamn killer. And being a killer is not ethical. If I do not kill, yeah, I could have saved 19 people, maximize the happiness, but I should become a killer for that. So now the choice comes. Either you can become the savior. Oh, so sorry. Either you can become the savior or either you can become a killer. If you, either you can remain innocent. If you save, you are also becoming a killer. If you restrain, you might not save, but at the same time, you'll not become a killer. Tomorrow, nobody can come and tell. If you remember, yesterday we looked into the determinants of ethics. Conscience is also important. Okay, what is the doubt here, Vishnu? I'm not. No, yeah, come on. If you're comparing me to Osho was a great person, man. Come on, I'm a very small one. Vishnu. Is everybody clear with the case study? Okay, now there is an ethical dilemma, and if you look into both deontology and utilitarianism, both would end up going somewhere else, buddy. So now choice remains in your hand. Would you corrupt your hand, or would you look into the death's dance of 20 people? If I come to the practicality, the point is this: if killing one makes me happy of saving 19 others, then I should kill. But if by killing one, I may save 19, but tomorrow the death of one if haunts me, then I would lose my sanity forever and ever. So neither deontology can help us in resolving the dilemma, neither utilitarianism can come to our rescue. Both are extreme versions. One only focuses on goals, other only focuses on means. Because remember, if you are killing someone, and that death would definitely stare on your face. Now the point is, I should corrupt my hand or not. So I would have no resolution to this dilemma. The choice remains your own hand. But my goal of explaining this example was so that you understand that utilitarian and deontology would take two opposite actions. If Jim refuses, then there is no special occasion, and Pedro would, however, kill all the 20 people. Agar if you don't take, the other person would kill, the captain would kill. What should Jim do? Utilitarians would see that no moral dilemma. Jim should shoot one of the Indians. That's good. Maximum happiness is achieved. Satisfaction done. Killing an innocent man is wrong. Deontologist. Full stop. Nothing else. It is wrong even if though by not killing this innocent, many individuals are killed by others. So whether Pedro or captain would kill the person or not, I'm not bothered. I am not killing because killing is wrong. Simple as that. Pedro, go ahead, do whatever you want. If you want to leave them, if you want to kill them. I am not going to kill anybody. Therefore, if you look, you would see that Jim here would not kill at all. Jim's hands are morally clean if he's not killing, despite known consequences, despite him in a sense letting the 20 die. Yeah, Jim may say that, but one small question to all of you. Would ever Jim blame that it was because of me those 20 people were killed? No. Oh, come on, those people would have anyways been killed if I did not arrive. My arrival did not make them kill, right? Suppose if the situation is reverse. I'll reverse the situation. Listen to it very clearly. If I reverse the situation, Jim landed here, and because Jim landed here, there is one ritual present in this society that if any stranger comes, 20 people would be sacrificed. But that particular guest would be given an opportunity that if he kills one, 19 would be saved. Then what the theory would say? First of all, utilitarianist would say Jim should never visit the island. His visit would largely lead to the death of 20 people. Don't go. But by chance, if you land, utilitarian would say what? Well, see, the maximum happiness lies, you go back. But even that, if that is not a possibility, then obviously you kill one, at least 20 would be saved, 19 would be saved. And what would deontologists say? You should act ethically. You shouldn't have visited this place. But by chance, if you have visited, your duty is now to kill one. Why? Because it is because of you those 20 people are crucified or sacrificed. Now, act utilitarian and deontology would come to the same place. Oh, no, no, Jim, you should kill one immediately. Why? Because of you, 20 would die or else. So make a point very clear. When the situation changes, the entire picture changes. So if because of Jim people are losing the life, then the deontologist would say, Jim, you should try to save them, whatever way the possible way may be. If you are not able to save all, please save 19 by killing one. Even deontology would agree to that, because in that context, the means of Jim should be to save life, because it is because of him that the particular people are largely facing consequences of losing their life. I hope everybody is with me. Then make a point very clear that there is always some turfs and dilemmas which you would feel there exist. There is a morally relevant distinction. This is important. Try to put up or mark up this slide as important. This would help you in many ethical case studies. There is a line of difference between killing and letting die. Had he taken up the offer to shoot a captive, he would have intended a death. He would have become killer. In declining the offer, he intended no deaths, though he foresaw 20 people. If I don't let anybody die, I would be at the best. If I do not kill, I would at the best be accused of what? I could not save them. But if I kill, I would largely be criticized as a killer. So make a clear stand. Killing or letting people die. Because saving is no option. If you kill, 19 would be saved, 1 would be killed. But if you let die, you would not be called as killer. Utilitarian would largely go to killing. Deontologist would go to the other side of the story. Deontological morality demands that we do right thing even if the good does not result, as you have seen. I'll read the para fast. The right, so to speak, wears the trousers. The right takes priority over the good. My duty has regard sole to my doing the right thing, acting according to the relevant morals. Maxim, the moral principle that I endorse, even if the result is that another or many others fall in their duty, as I explained previously. Deontology would never say that others are doing, you also do. No, you should follow your ethics. You should follow your aspects. So, yahan tak I have done 2 theories. Consequentialism, deontology. Deontology focuses on means, consequentialism focuses on orders. Now, there is less hard theory in ethics. Most of the time we do not adhere to this because बहुत कोई great scholars are not associated with them. There are other theories where scholars were associated. Socrates were there, Rawls were there, Kant was there. One of the most highest, revered philosopher, Kant, with Hegel and others. There's another thing called as Contractarianism. Contract, something like that. Called also as Contractarianism. Theory is very simple. This is the principle followed here. Thoda seh lenge yaar. It's okay, we'll, bear certain unhappiness. What exactly it says? It is derived from the social contract political theory of Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau. That's okay if you don't know that. Such tacit voluntary agreements exist. Only one paragraph, you will understand. In other social relationships, as well as between friends, between spouses, parents, children, between doctors and patients. They are talking about relationships which exist between teacher and a student, husband and a wife, daughter and a father, son and a father, sister and a brother, etc. They are mutual and reasonable expectation in these relationships. Whatever relationships you are having, there are certain expectations. My husband will behave like that. My students would behave like that. My teacher would behave like that. Or my XYZ boss would behave like that. And when these expectations are not met, we not only feel aggrieved, but also feel that the person has violated his or her moral duty. This is it. This is the theory. Contractarianism means what? In any relationship, people have certain expectations from each other. When these expectations are fulfilled, your behavior is ethical. When these expectations are not fulfilled, your behavior is unethical. Sir, what you do if you are Jim? Arey yaar. This is a dilemma. What would I do if I was a Jim? I would kill one person. I would kill. Because I know my personality well. That if I do not, if I do not kill in my entire life, I would always feel maybe I'm not a killer, but I could have been savior. So my choice would be I would save 19 people if I would have been a Jim. Because at least at the end of the entire process which takes place, I understand that killing would never be easy for sure. Because I'm not a habitual killer except mosquitoes. But definitely, if I get an opportunity to save life, and if I save life, at least I would rest in peace whenever that rest comes to me. And somewhere down the line, at least I saved 19 families. And that's an achievement. Yes, I would regret killing one. I'll not be happy. But at the end, more than being happy, I want to be right. This is how I would have chosen it. I would have justified the killing, where I would have said that, okay, yeah, by killing one person, I would certainly not be happy. But certainly, by saving 19 people, my rights would definitely be tilted there. And if a choice between right and happiness comes, as far as this situation is concerned, whereby following the right, I would also be more happy of saving the 19 life, less sad when compared to killing one. So if you are becoming more happy by saving 19 and less sad by becoming a killer, then it's okay, because in my society people often say कचरा साफ करने के लिए हाथ तो खराब करने पड़ते हैं. In order to treat or clean the filthy waters, sometimes you would have to you would have to largely make your hands dirty. So at the end, that killing would not have made me happy, but the saving life would have certainly made me more happy, much more satisfied morally. I would have done that. Coming to this particular example, please understand contractualism. Now, point is what? According to this theory, there are certain expectations from each other, and when these expectations we are not able to fulfill, they believe this is unethical. Oh man, come on, you're not fulfilling your ethical duties. Why? Arey, I am expecting 500 rupees from you, man. You're not giving me 500 rupees. What is this? Oh, okay. No, that is not an expectation. Let's take a scenario to make you understand. The theory says everybody has certain expectation from each other. If you're fulfilling the expectation, you're ethical. If you're not fulfilling the expectation, you're not ethical. Simple as that. Let's figure it out. There's one person who is drowning in this sea water, and there's another person just a little far away from this particular person, and this is the beach. This is the land. There's another person little far away from this person who is also shouting for help, who is also drowning. Okay? Okay. Now there's one lady standing here. Let's assume she is an expert swimmer, suppose. There's this lady standing here. And if I have to further classify, this guy is the husband of the lady, and this guy is one stranger. For an hypothetical scenario, let's take you are that lady, irrespective of your biological gender. If you are that lady, whom you would save? The stranger, let's assume, is a prime minister. Suppose this is a prime minister of the country where you're living, whichever world it is. No. I mean, come on. By the time you save your husband, bring him to this, there is a possibility he may lose his life. By chance, if he does not lose the life, you can come back and save. Did you understand this theory now? I hope you did. Contractarianism means that in every relationship there are certain expectations. If I would have been that lady, contractarianism ke accordingly, my obligation exists towards my husband. And even if he's 10 feet away from this person, I would first swim across to my husband, bring him to the larger beach. And if then there is a possibility, I will go back and try to save this particular fellow prime minister. Tomorrow, the entire world may call me wrong. Arey, you should have saved the prime minister. Why the hell should I save the prime minister? Oh, come on, it would have maximized the happiness of all the people. People would have been proud of you. What is this? No. I had my own obligation towards my own husband. Why should first my ethics and moral says that I should be saving my husband? Imagine, just imagine, if this lady saves this guy first, what would be the first thought in your mind? Jaldi batao. If this lady, instead of husband, saves this person for the first time, people, rather than celebrating the lady, they would start branding that lady. Why? Oh, come on, she had an affair with the prime minister. Oh, that is a possibility. Or else, how can she let her husband die? She actually saved a stranger. Oh, there is something. Oh, kuch gadbad hai. There are problems. Did you get the point? They would actually tarnish this lady's character. They would actually, bring her to the court of, that, moral slogging would take place in the entire city, or maybe the country. And there is a problem. Now, this is what they say. In every relationships, there are certain expectations from each other. And once if you're not fulfilling those expectations, then there is a possibility you're not behaving ethically. So, my dear friends, remember, if this theory is applied, then you would first have to fulfill your obligation toward the relationships. So in any ethical scenario, tomorrow, remember, when we do case studies, such ethical dilemmas would come. Don't always answer on the basis of utilitarianism and deontology. There are approaches like contractarianism, which can give you better answers. By being a civil servant, I do have certain relationship with my superiors and subordinates. And as a result, if I'm not able to fulfill the relationships with my subordinates, then I should definitely be behaving in an unethical manner. And therefore, respective authorities, I would be taking a stand with my juniors, because my role and duty towards them has to be fulfilled if I truly have to be ethical. Remember fulfilling those duties. So friends, remember one thing, fulfilling duties towards you, your own Divakar sir is today violating this particular theory, as he himself is not able to give times to his own small kids. because I do have duties with respect to them. So today, I could have been ethical at one place, but at the same time, I becoming an ethical violator in some other spheres of my life. And these dilemmas of life, these dilemmas of ethics would exist always in our life. These theories are good to know. These theories can help us in resolving our dilemma. But more than resolving in dilemma, these theories help us in understanding that we are ethical culprits in our life. These theories make us understand that no person in this entire world is purely ethical. One may be ethical from this perspective, other may be unethical. The same person could be unethical from other perspectives of theories. So whenever an opportunity comes to you, remember one fact very clearly: one cannot largely be ethical always. Even if you are ethical, there would be certain theories which would justify you being unethical in your life. So please make sure that don't focus on the best answers in your case studies. Look into the most viable approach which leads to the least possible ethical violations. Most of the time, student tries to solve the case studies by being completely right, complete right and wrong. If you are still believing, I said you in my previous lectures, every right has its wrong, every wrong has its right. These theories prove that. Clear? Guys, everybody clear? But remember, is it seriously? If you have some duties towards someone, is it really that? Now, sometimes there could be over expectations from someone else. And if you're not able to fulfill them, are you becoming unethical? Suppose being an IS officer, after becoming an IPS officer, suppose if I would have been IPS officer, if my wife would have demanded a hero ka har or a costly jewelries like that of 50 lakhs, 1 crores or something like that, is it my duty to fulfill? If I fulfill that duty, I would have to largely violate the duties with others. I would have to indulge myself in corruption. Only then I'll be able to do that. So please be very sure, this is a dangerous theory as well. Sometimes those obligations and expectations of others may be so high that fulfilling those obligations becomes almost impossible, and many times fulfilling those obligations becomes unethical. No, I want iPhone 16, man. Come on, you're my boyfriend. You should at least, I am expecting this from you. Oh, come on, ma'am. Expectations has its limit. Expecting for you to win the entire world for me. No. Please, you are over expecting now. That's not expectations. Clear. Now, there is another concept which can be fitted under this theory. But there is another theory which was mentioned, emotivism. I actually did not come across this theory in any of my ethical studies, but this book of Peter Caves did introduce me for the first time in this particular concept. समझ में कुछ नहीं है, सुन के अच्छा लगा. Emotivism, it runs on emotions. Just like this, here, expectations. Now, what is emotivism? Look at this. Guys, we'll finish this emotivism and then I'll wind it up. 5-10 more minutes. Pure emotivists, as said, insist that moral content of judgments are nothing but emotional expressions. So in the case of gym example, emotivist would say that whatever decisions you are taking, that decision should always take care of your emotions. And that's the reason I said, I would kill one and save 90. Because at least that would satisfy my emotion as well. Tomorrow, at least I'll feel happy of saving 19. If I do nothing, whenever a thought comes, I'll only be sad. I could have saved. But if I kill, whenever the thought comes that I killed, a counter thought would appear to say me, no, Dibakar, you did right. You also saved 19. So that's a better state, right? Only negative emotions, if I do nothing, negative and positive coexist, which can sideline my negative. Obviously, I should go with that, emotivism. Hume understood morality in terms of feelings or sentiments. Hume was a person who actually understood the morality on the basis of emotions, sentiments, that you should always behave in a very sentimental manner. You should always largely feel the emotions present in the society. That is actually being an ethical. That is something which largely brings an ethical behavior. In order to understand this topic, one need to understand or analyze the Bollywood movies. In your day-to-day life, if you see, you would have ever come across that many times when you take decisions on the basis of emotions, those actually actions are more ethical. Have you come across? I cannot say all the emotional actions, but I can certainly say that those actions taken by emotions, yeah, say, those many times are more ethical in nature. Why? Because those emotions largely express that you are a human being. And when that actually takes place, there is a high possibility that you actually take the right. There is a high possibility, I cannot say always, but there's a possibility you will take more emotional actions. There's one aspect which was given here. Our serious moral dilemmas may be very personal. Most of the time, the dilemma we face are on the basis of emotions. Mummy or papa, example. They may concern marital fidelity, kidney donation, or assisting elderly parents, suffering pain, indignity, etc. Serious moral dilemmas also arise on the bigger stage, larger aspects of life. What? Should you whistleblow? Should you expose? Again, an emotional one. Exposing your employer's supply of arms, some other aspects. A business that benefits from this country's infrastructure, stability, and services can avoid paying tax by registering as overseas. There are multiple dilemmas which you see. At the personal level and at the larger level, both carries emotions. Should I do this or not? Despite knowing numerous innocent civilians would be, there are some examples which they mentioned. So my point here is, emotions at personal level and emotions at the higher level, both of them are existing. If you would have to now take an action on the basis of emotivism, they would say, take those actions are ethical, in which you are able to justify and satisfy your emotions. But there is a problem in this. Many times emotions could be very, very dangerous. Obviously, this is not part of that. Many times the emotions actually could be very, very dangerous. Why? The entire World War I started because of emotion. Now, how you actually killed my king, I'll kill you. Emotivism talks about that judgments are right which are taken on the basis of emotions. Why? To them, morality is nothing but emotional aspect. To an extent, it is right, but if you completely rely on your emotions, there is a possibility you may largely become a victim of just your stimuli. Particular stimuli appears, you take an action, you're done. And that is a problem here. And you see, many of these dilemmas often exist which cannot be resolved on the basis of dilemmas, because there are possibility that two emotion dilemmas may coexist together. In that circumstances, you would face different types of difficulties here. So till here, we have seen four specific theories. One was utilitarianism, one was consequentialism, other was deontology, the third was contractarianism, and the fourth one is emotivism, which is nothing but a part of it. It's okay if you are not using emotivism, but only essence you should remember in one line. That flashcard which I wanted you to make, there are four things which should be written in flashcard right now. First, consequentialism focuses on consequences. Second, deontology focuses on action. Contractarianism focuses on expectation of duties, expect fulfilling of expectations, that is ethical. And then emotivism, ethics are nothing but emotional values. So if you are able to justify the actions on the basis of emotions, you are ethical. Simple as that. The last theory tomorrow which would come is virtue theory. the principle, the grit of a character. That ethics is nothing but largely developing and following right virtues. If anything which is outside virtue is unethical, tomorrow I'll end up the theory part. I'll start on with the value dimensions, family, education, so on. And day after tomorrow, I'll complete the attitude wala part. We'll start with attitude and we'll cover the attitude. Take care. Have a pleasurable evening ahead. Bye bye.